So look, let's get rid of a couple of misconceptions. It's interesting, when we come to Gambia, when we come to Africa, we don't need to settle for second best. I don't believe in this, that it's Africa so it's not working. We're as good as we believe we are. So let's start.
Yesterday, returning Gambian, came back, went through yesterday, heard what the president said, heard how you felt what you felt. This is a pivotal moment for Gambia. This opportunity may never come again. But some observations and reflections on yesterday. I went around, I spoke to as many of you as I could. When I came in this morning, I spoke and listened to as many of you as I could. I asked a very simple question. What brought you here? What are you looking for? You told me hope, inspiration, leadership, direction, a way forward. Fabulous. But here's the truth. This isn't going to be done by the president, the cabinet, the ministers. This is your opportunity. I stood up here on the stage yesterday, feeling proud to be home, but observed a generational divide that is growing, it's huge, it's a chasm. I saw some of our venerable elders struggling to turn off their phones as they went on. I saw a generation completely connected and in touch with its digital community. Let's not wait for leadership to come. You are the leaders of the future. Leadership is not management, it's not expertise. If we're going to get the transformation we want, it's not down to thinkers, it's down to doers. We have to do stuff. And I'm going to push you quite hard. Because what I felt yesterday and what I felt this morning, talent isn't our issue, leadership is. I've spent the last 20 years working with some of the best leaders on the planet. The opportunity to come home and work with leaders here is irresistible. This is not a spectator sport. You're not there to sit back and watch leadership happen. You are the leaders. I've worked with heads of states, chief executives of the largest businesses on the planet. The truth is, the organization, the nation, the sports team with the most leaders wins. Do not sit back and wait for it to happen. You are the happening. So let's start there. And I know, Alpha, have you got this? So let me just talk about the book. So let's just get the mythology out of the way. We have 700 copies of Spike sitting in Banjul docks, waiting to come here. When you get the time today, go to reception and sign up for a free copy of Spike. On the 30th, they will arrive at TAF HQ. Please go there, your name will have been registered, and accept your free copy of Spike. Far too many years ago, my parents left Gambia. In many respects, it's not too different from those who are doing the Lampedusa, Sicily, Libya trip. In the 1960s, we were a colony. They left with the dream of getting their children educated. I was born here in Gambia, in Banjul. As soon as they arrived in London, the most expensive city on the planet at the time, they were instantly impoverished. They left Gambia, their middle-class lives in Gambia, to go to London to be impoverished. But sometimes adversity is the greatest driver of success. And I was lucky enough, even though we didn't live in the best housing, we didn't have access to the best schools, I was lucky to climb my way to university. I was lucky to get myself a job at Marks & Spencer, and I was the first black director, board director in the UK, from the humble origins. Thank you. I spent 3 years on the board of Pepsi in the US. the first Brit on the board of Pepsi. Dreams can come true. We need to accept that our heritage may not be our destiny. We are not second best. Everything can work and will work. But we have to change our expectations of ourselves and our leaders. And this is going to be tough, but it's doable. I'm lucky enough to work with some of the best chief executives in the world, best businesses. I've advised all of these. I'm lucky enough to have worked with some of the best leaders on the planet. You too. There's nothing you can't achieve. Dreams can come true. If you're prepared to work hard, believe in yourselves, there's nothing that can't be achieved. The question I get asked everywhere, are leaders born or are leaders made?
Oh, it's a difficult one. Oh, it's tough. That's a great question.
That's a difficult question.
I think leaders are born. I think they're made. The truly great leaders, it's in you.
I would have to say both.
They're born.
I don't think they're born leaders.
I absolutely think you're made.
I think it's a bit of both.
I think they can be born, but I also think they can be made.
Let's go ahead and say made.
But leaders are born.
I think there's probably more made than born.
Both. Developed.
It's truly a combination.
Bit of both. Some learned attributes and maybe some natural something.
I actually feel it's a natural thing that you
I could go on, but I disagree. Leaders are not born, leaders are not made, leaders are found. Leaders are found. As I stand before you here, there are many leaders in this audience. No one's ever given you the permission to lead. I'm giving you the permission to lead. Leadership is not a science. It's an art. It's not taught. I'm a professor at Cass Business School in London. I lecture on the MSc in management. We create 450 MSc graduates every year. We teach them the science of management. Management is IQ. Leadership is EQ. We feel it. It's an art. We call management the hardware. Leadership is the software. No one can make you a leader. It's your choice. It's not about rank. It's not about academic qualifications. It's not about expertise. It's about you. The day you decide to be a leader, no one can take it from you. The best leaders in the world that we see, it's their ability to persuade, their ability to influence. It's not academic prowess. Forget that. I coach so many PhDs who can hardly lead anything. When I came in this morning, I was speaking to some of you, looking into your eyes and trying to feel that passion and energy and excitement that leaders bring to every problem. Stop looking for leadership elsewhere, find it within yourselves. I've never seen anyone achieve their leadership potential without the intervention of a mentor. When you leave here today, do me one huge favor, go and find yourself a mentor. Someone who behaves, acts in the way that you would love to replicate. Have the courage, aim as high as you can. Chief executive, vice president, aim as high as you can. Ask them for 1 hour a month. 1 hour to give you a damn good listening to share with you their wisdom. I've had the benefit of 3 mentors in my career. People who took the time to spend 1 hour every month with me, completely transforming who I think, what I think of myself, my capabilities, helping me refine my language, my behavior, my dreams, my hopes, challenging me, supporting me. Find yourself that mentor. Now, aim as high as you can. I mentor maybe 40, 50 people from around the world. Digital technology enables me to meet with them, talk with them on a regular basis. I mentor 3 presidents of Africa, 5 chief executives. Everyone needs help on their leadership journey. Get that help now. Iceland, a nation of 352,000 people. Tiny, even tiny compared to Gambia. Their football team reached the European Championship semi-finals last year, beating the mighty England along their way. When the team returned home, remember, this is a team where the goalkeeper is a film director, the manager is a hairdresser. The majority of their players are part-time. When they got back to the capital Reykjavik, this is what happened. So volume, please. One-third of the nation came out to welcome the returning hero. Men, women, boys, girls, everyone came out. No one who was there will ever forget it. Those players will never forget it. I believe because of this, the positivity, the catching people doing things right, the gratitude, just the recognition, they qualified for this year's World Cup, the smallest nation to ever qualify. The lesson I want you to take out of this, every Icelander turned up. Beyond gender, beyond race, beyond ethnicity, beyond religion. We are stronger together. Divided, we fail. United, we can do things that everyone said was impossible. These guys tried their best and just failed in the semi-final. The reaction of their nation was to praise them for having done their best. What do we do when our people try hard and perhaps don't get there? That instant reaction is everything. This is where leadership comes in. Do we fuel our people to try harder again for us, or do we greet them with cynicism? We have a moment. We have a moment. It's a moment for optimism, hope, and positivity and joined up thinking. Let us not miss this opportunity. We're living in a 2-speed world, which I shared with you yesterday. But we need to understand that not everything old is bad and not everything new is good. The combination of the both is what will empower us. Take from our heritage and culture, tradition, those things that have served us well. But let's not be afraid to challenge some of those things that hold us back today. And let me provoke you now. Deference to our elders is not helping. Our future will be delivered by our youth. They're the ones connected to a different world of disruptive technology, of exploding populations, of a completely different mindset for geopolitical power around the world. We need to work together with this. There is no point waiting for those with little experience of it to lead us through it. I see this everywhere in the world. We have the same challenge in the UK, in North America, in Europe. Why should Africa be different? So let's put deference in its place. Respect our elders, of course. We need to be part of determining our future. Do not sit back, do not wait, you have to participate. We have a challenge globally. We're seeing Trump's America, Brexit UK, driving for splendid isolation. For 22 years, we lived in splendid isolation. This is not the way forward. All the research tells us dynamic engagement is what works. We will not deliver Gambia's future on our own. I know from the institutions I'm working with, Gambia is an investment opportunity of a lifetime for everyone. But we need to greet them with a plan, a strategy, and a workforce that's up for it. And I mean us, not them, us. We've never seen growth like this before. Over half the world's population lives in a circle around India. In 30 years' time, that moves to Africa. In 50 years' time, Nigeria's population will be larger than India's. We're about to see a population explosion like we've never seen the likes of before, and Africa is at the heart of it. For some, that's mind-bogglingly frightening. For others, huge consumer market opportunities. Let's think positively about what we can do and what opportunities we have. But we've got to provide 600 million jobs in the next decade globally. And remember, mankind has always managed to achieve it, and I'm optimistic that we can. Another challenge, 40% of the world's youth faces unemployment. It's not just Gambia, it's not just Africa, it's everywhere. This is a global challenge. We will not crack this on our own. We have a generation at risk. Everything is mobile now. I came in this morning, I watched my friends, my brothers and sisters there, every one of them connected to their smartphone, head down. But look, more people have a mobile phone subscription than access to safe drinking water. We have some challenges. We have some challenges. I'm at the moment advising the president of the African Development Bank, President Adesina, in the Ivory Coast in Abidjan. He has a vision for the 54 countries of Africa called High Fives. He's probably the best leader I've ever had the privilege of supporting and working with, beyond all the prime ministers and heads of state. Let's break the myth for once and for all. Africa has outstanding leaders. They may not necessarily be heads of state just yet, but we're on our way. Let's find the leaders that we need, and they may not be called chief executive. They may not be called vice president. In fact, they may not be called anything. That doesn't mean that you can't be our leaders of tomorrow. The population explosion for Africa is serious, but I believe it's an opportunity. But here are the issues. Africa's population will double by 2050. Half of all Africans are under 20 years old. 7 in 10 Africans own their own cell phone. Economic growth is blistering, at plus 5.5%. 6 in the 10 of the fastest growing economies are African. More than 40% of Africans now live in urban areas. This is a good news story that we can be part of. Stop selling ourselves short. But our challenge is that we need to be unique, special, and different. Every one of you, as I said before, you're as unique as your fingerprints. Let's understand how we make Gambia unique, special, and different. How are we going to break out from the pack? How are we going to stand alone? I advise and support the president of the World Bank, Jim Yong Kim, over in Washington, D.C. Africa is the darling of the economists. They're screaming to support, to help, to provide loans, to provide all the expertise in the world. Are we making ourselves available? Are we providing them with the confidence they need in us? Let's not leave this just to the politicians. This is about us. Let me say it again. This moment may never come again. So be the change you want to see. When you leave here today, I hope I've provoked a bunch of people to become leaders. But we're not going to do this alone. We need to be joined up. We are stronger together. We are only stronger together. 3 men working on a building site. In the burning sun, it's the toughest work you've ever seen. They're dripping in sweat. The journalist comes to the first one and says, "Why do you do this work?" "I haven't worked for 3 years. I took the first job I could get." Goes to the second one, "Why do you do this job?" "I've got a wife and 3 kids to feed. Took the first job I could get." He goes to the third one. "Why do you do this job?" He wipes the sweat from his brow. He leans on his shovel. He says, "I'm helping to build a mosque." He could have said, "I'm helping to build a cathedral." Either way, this is vision. This is the power of a vision. If we have something to believe in and someone to belong to, we can change the world. At the moment, we do not have that vision. What does the future look like? What are we driving towards? What do we want to be part of? If we have that vision, the building of the mosque, the building of the cathedral, it's no longer work. We're part of something special. This is leadership. It's not strategy. It's the promised land. It's the dream. It's the big picture. We need that big picture. It doesn't need to be complex. It's not a 100-page white paper. We need to feel it here. It will come from us. In all of this, culture is more powerful than strategy. Anyone can copy your strategy. No one can copy your culture. That's what makes us special. Let's energize and mobilize our culture to make us memorable, unique, special, and different. There are 7 ways of transforming culture today. Number 1, if you're capable, you're qualified. Forget everything else. If you can do it, do it. Provide something to belong to, the dream, the vision. Acknowledge effort and wins the way that the Icelandic people did. If your neighbor tries and succeeds, applaud them. Make them feel that you care. If the child graduates, let's be there for them. Let's turn from the negative to the positive. Nothing is ever achieved without enthusiasm. I hear too much complaining, moaning, and pessimism. That is not the fuel for change. Optimism, enthusiasm, and passion can fuel change. Circumstances change, our values don't. You know our values, the way we've been brought up as all Gambians. If I have, my neighbor has. Nyokoboka. We cannot forget this. It's at the base of everything we do. Beyond religion, beyond tribes, beyond race. Everyone has a strength. I want you to read Spike. Every one of you. Understand that every one of you was born with a gift, was born with a strength. And finally, let's build this on trust. And you know something? People say to me, but how do I trust someone? Trust them. It's the only way. How am I going to trust someone? Trust them. It's the only way. And do you know what happens? 80% of the time, it's wonderful. 20% of the time, you have to think again. So what? Good leaders create followers. Great leaders create leaders. Think Mandela. Think Obama. So I want to close off with 10 things I think each one of you can do to kickstart your leadership journey. Number 1, listen to the under 25s. They have a view, they have a voice. They're worth listening to. Let me guess you're under 25. Just a random guess. The journey we're going on is too complex for cynics. We don't need a bunch of cynics, we need a band of believers. Is it going to be perfect? No. Will there be mistakes? Yes. But we have to believe. If you don't believe, nothing will happen. If you're going to be cynical, leave the room, please. We don't need the cynics. You've got to buy a ticket to this lottery. It's our future. So much is discussed in private and in confidence, and it's opaque, and no one knows what's going on. Do you know what the best leaders do? They share everything. The more I share with you, the more you know, the more you trust me, the more you'll come on the journey with me. Just open up the transparency. Just look at what we'll get in return. The 4 most powerful words we're going to use on this journey. What do you think? Just ask your neighbor, ask the young one, ask the person who worships differently to you. What do you think? You've just created a connection. If you wait and listen to their response, you've created engagement. If you act on what they say, you've established trust. The 4 most powerful words we're going to use on this journey, what do you think? Cheap, easy, free, use it, please. I've never seen a monoculture work. Diversity works, inclusion works. Over 50% of our talent base is female, let's embrace it. Because you don't worship like me, look like me, doesn't mean we can't be brothers or sisters. Let's get beyond difference and move to inclusion. The illiterate of the 21st century won't be those who can't read and write. It'll be those who can't learn, unlearn, relearn. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Everything that worked for us yesterday may not be appropriate for tomorrow. Let's abandon it. Finish beats perfect. We just need to get moving. Do stuff. Change our world. We'll refine it later. Let's get started tomorrow morning. Sometimes the role of the leader, just get out of the way. Mustafa did something amazing yesterday. He stood up here with no notes and gave us a view of the future. He's left everything he's built by his hand to others that he can trust. He's prepared to go and sit on the beach and think the unthinkable. He's getting out the way, giving what he built to a different generation of leaderships. Good leaders create followers. Great leaders create leaders. I had to get the Chelsea piece in there. Great players don't win trophies, great teams win trophies. Nothing is best done alone anymore. We have to be a team. And that team needs to be our elders, our under 25s, our digital generation, our females, our different tribes, our different religions. We can win this together. We cannot win it divided. Finally, inspire and challenge your people. We've got to change the discourse, and this comes a heartfelt plea from a fellow Gambian. We're too polite. We're just too polite. We need to have some challenging, difficult, sometimes ugly conversations with each other. As long as we know we're all trying to get to the same destination, why not? I was at a dinner last night and the night before, and we had our sleeves rolled up with Gambia in our hearts, our passion, our energy, and we argued till we couldn't talk anymore. Why? We're striving for a better solution. So can I leave you, finally? If you're bold, you might fail. If you're not bold, you will fail. And I want to leave you with a story. Singapore. Let's take our minds back to Singapore. It was a piece of dirty brushland. The British barely acknowledged it. If you want to believe transformation, look what Singapore have done in 50 years.
When it started life as an independent, separate country in 1965, Singapore's prospects did not look good. Tiny and underdeveloped, it had no natural resources and a population of relatively recent immigrants with little shared history. The country's first Prime Minister, the late Lee Kuan Yew, is credited with transforming it. He called one volume of his memoirs From Third World to First. Why did Singapore become an economic success? First, its strategic location and natural harbour helped. It is at the mouth of the Malacca Strait, through which perhaps 40% of world maritime trade passes. It was an important trading post in the 14th century, and again from the 19th, when British diplomat Sir Stamford Raffles founded the modern city. Now it is at the heart of one of the world's most dynamic regions. Second, under Mr. Lee, Singapore welcomed foreign trade and investment. Multinationals found Singapore a natural hub and were encouraged to expand and prosper. Third, the government was kept small, efficient and honest, qualities absent in most of Singapore's neighbours. It regularly topped surveys for the ease of doing business.
Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers, my sisters, Singapore came from the most humble of origins with a dream. And a people that came together, they were different. Chinese, Malay, foreigners, they all came together with a dream of Singapore. If Singapore can do it, I leave with the question, why can't we? Remember, we are stronger together. We cannot do it divided. Everyone in this room is a leader if they choose to be. I wish you well on our journey. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think you've inspired us and you've put the fuel back into us in terms of pride, dignity, honor, and duty to country. And like Bill Gates said, people who are afraid to fail will never be successful. And we have to be bold. And being bold, we can fail, but we just have to rise up again. I believe, and I just want to ask you whether Gambia should adopt the creative culture and also value strategy, because one thing that's missing, we don't need the hardware, we need the software, and it's the soft skills that's going to transform this country to what it ought to be, not the hard skills. We don't need to sweat, we need to think, and in thinking we can transform Gambia. Thank you.
So that's a great question. It's a great question, it's appropriate for the time. But I would reflect and say, look, if we go back 20, 30 years ago, we could honestly say that the talent base, the talent pool was too small. That is not the case today. I walked in this morning, I spoke to my 6 brothers and sisters here, I asked them why they come, what are they doing? I've got one guy studying for an MSc in London. Another guy who's running his own broadcasting business. A sister, she's running her own seamstress business. Look, our talent base is fine. I think we need as many doers as thinkers. Thinkers set the way, doers make the change. I don't think there's a separation and there shouldn't be any elitism about this. We won't be led by politicians, we'll be led by us. It's happening everywhere. And I think we've got to listen to people in a different way. Strategy, yes. People, even more. The ideas are in this room, but we're not used to listening to them. We've got to get used to listening to people who aren't called chief executive, who are not managing director, but they have a view, and that view is important. It's not what we say, it's our listening skills. What I've picked up in the last 20 years, the best communicators are the best listeners. And every now and again, we need to give those, a generation very different to us, a damn good listening to. Strategy has its place, but believe you me, the voice of the people is more important. And I think at this moment, I'm leaving here energized by the people I've spoken to. I look at the sparkle in their eyes, I feel the pump of the heart. Is it management speak? Is it beautifully crafted strategy? No, it doesn't have to be. It's a way forward. It's a commitment. It's an idea. It's an initiative. These are the conversations we've got to make happen now. Google. Google has been the most outperforming organization in the world for a number of years. It's voted the best place to work. Its profitability, its revenues are amazing. But they do some things that we could all learn from. They realize that dangerously, when they outsource their technical training and their leadership training, they'd inadvertently outsource their culture. I think we are in danger of inadvertently outsourcing our culture. What Google did, they decided to train everyone who has people reporting to them to become a coach. So you're good at helping people grow, good at supporting them. They brought the training back inside. It was delivered through their leaders. Here's a lesson for us. Every one of us who has the responsibility of people reporting and working to them, think coach. Coach your people. Let them coach their people. Let's create a nation of leaders. Let's create a nation of people that have a voice. Will they be easy to manage? No. Will there be difference of opinion? Yes. I think this is the future. It's not going to be nice, normalized, pleasant, patient, polite. Transformation isn't like that. It's about having the ugly, difficult conversations, openly over dinner, listening to our children, let them challenge us. Let people who look different to us, who worship different to us, hear their voice, let them challenge us. The more we listen, the more we share, the better we get. We don't need a violent revolution, we need a thinking revolution. And we can do this together. I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen around Africa. Let me say it again. We're a little too divided and a little too polite. This can be done. And you're probably getting my passion and my enthusiasm for it. We can do this.
Good morning, everyone. I must first of all congratulate the last speaker for a very brilliant and exciting presentation.
You're very kind.
It stimulates us all. I just want to make some couple of comments which leads to questions. The famous inventor Charles Kettering once said, "Nothing ever built soared to touch the skies if someone did not dream that it would happen."
Very good.
Somebody believed that it could happen. And finally, somebody willed that it must happen. I think in the Gambian context, we are often afraid to dream big. And we also have very little belief in ourselves, a bit of inferiority complex. That's why when foreigners come in here, they tend to do better than we do. And sometimes I want to believe that the will is not strong enough to effect the necessary change. So these are areas I think I would like to have your comment on.
Very good.
I remember at high school, one of our teachers who was a Catholic nun came and wrote on the board, "If the young only knew and the old only could." You know, I would like to have your comments on that.
Very good, very good.
The third one is, in a gathering like this, we often want to dwell on our strengths. Yesterday we had how blessed we are, how much talent we have, how much resources we have, and so on and on. But sometimes I want to believe that we might do better taking a little time and look at our weaknesses. Why are we weak in certain areas? And I think the explanations are many. But I think in this kind of country, there are so many things that divide us. We are already very small. And if certain factors like politics, like tribe, clan, and other stuff divide us further. One can just get how weak we will be and continue to be. So I want you to maybe make some suggestions how we will actually overcome
So
it.
that's a big, wide-ranging view of questions.
Yes.
The big point I would say to you, this thing about low self-esteem, do we really believe in ourselves? Do we have wings? Let me wrap it up in one solution. Something happened yesterday that I think is instructive. A whole bunch of Gambians who have traveled, who live abroad, came back here. They have a different voice, they have a different energy, they have a different confidence. They have a different skill set. And that's why I say if we mix, not everything old is bad, not everything new is good. But I think the biggest gift we've given to a generation is enable them to travel. They've gone abroad, they've learned, they've seen things differently, and they're coming back. If we mix all those voices in together, those who have stayed, who have struggled and achieved, those who've gone abroad and have learnt, this is a new Gambia. I refuse to accept we can't, because I know that we can. But it won't happen doing things the way we've always done them. Our leadership, that hierarchy doesn't work anymore. It's not the people at the top who know best anymore. It's the people who are closest to where the action is. We now need to have a different dialogue. Every organization is looking to get information flowing up and down. Gambia needs to do the same. It's not complex, it's not difficult, it just goes against what we've always done. This is a time of change. Remain optimistic. This will happen.
Good morning, everyone. And it's a real pleasure to be here. And I thank you, folks, for
Thank you.
making a kind of nervous.
Please.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay, just throw the question at me. You're nervous because it's important.
Absolutely,
And it matters.
you are right. And you mentioned something about a mentor.
Yes.
I had one in the UK. I'm a
Yes.
careers guidance advisor. I work in a school
Yes.
in Birmingham.
Yes.
And my mentor asked me, what did you want to do in the Gambia? Do you want to build a school? Do you want to build a center? Do you want to... I said, well, actually, I need to create an opportunity for lifelong learning.
Yes.
How about we build a library?
Yes.
A library that's significant
Yes.
and symbolic to anyone who
Wonderful.
wants to learn now and for the future.
Yes.
And then create a platform where everyone, the youth will come. But I want people to borrow tools as much as they can borrow books. And I hope that we can realize this. Sorry about this.
Look, what you say makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. And you know, just on a reflection, this is what I mean about he cares. It matters. It's not words, it's passion, it's feeling. You could feel it from him. If we looked at what all of us have done over our collective careers, have found a way of bringing them all together in a repository and sharing that learning amongst all of us, you know what? We become world class. Give the man another round of applause, please.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for the
Pleasure.
inspiring speech.
Thank you.
My question is, I see a lot of young people here, and I am very excited about the fact that we have very passionate people
Yes.
ready to take on the future of the Gambia.
Yes.
My question is, how do we get the older generation to be to get the young people involved, like allow them to participate, like some of the things that you're saying. How
Yes.
do we get them to get to this culture where they allow people to get involved, to build teams, to work as teams, not as individuals? Like, how do we get the...
So this is the killer application. If we can do this bit, you know, I was born in the traditional Gambian culture. My elders, my better, speak when you're spoken to. I know nothing, they know everything.
Yes. So that's the thing. So like, how do we get...
However,
Yeah.
it's time we stop seeking permission.
We don't need authorization to proceed. This is a moment, if you're bold, you might fail. If you're not bold, you will fail. We have to go to the problem.
I see. Thank you.
So, I have a daughter who's 28 years old sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
She challenges me like you'll never believe.
That's good.
It's uncomfortable, but it's the only way forward.
That's good.
Let me say it again. The best communicators are the best listeners. I reach out to all of our elders, our elder generation. Time to give a new generation a damn good listening to. They are not the enemy. They are the future. But let's start with you, the younger generation. Go towards the challenge, stop standing back from it. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations. You've got to break the protocol. You've got to say, but mother, father, I disagree. I have a point of view. It's going to be uncomfortable, but transformation is.
Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure.
Hello, hi. My name is Sala. Thank you very much for a very inspiring speech. I'm very impressed. It's just to refer to what you've just said earlier on. I believe that Gambia, we have leaders within and perhaps unfound skilled people that they don't realize their potential.
Yes.
I've seen so much potential in the country and in the youths and the leaders. We have the best of leaders. But my issue is that the lack of resourcefulness perhaps might be our challenge. We have the resources and we have the leaders, but I think it's about time that we create the environment for our youth and leaders to be more resourceful. And it's very interesting when you said about culture is more important than strategy, which I really agree with. My question today is that in this case, how do you think that we can balance culture and leadership values to help us achieve greatness and to become visionary leaders? Because it comes with just being different, being leaders. It's a
great question, but let's not make it complex. So look, everybody in this room can do stuff. Stop waiting for permission and someone to do it for you. No one's going to give you the resources. No one's going to give you the permission. Take it. I was driving down by MRC, and I just saw a sign that just hit me. It said, Startup Business Incubator here in Gambia. Business Startup Incubator. So I drove down there. What is it? It's a few people have got together trying to create an environment for success. For people who have nothing but great ideas to come and try and build businesses. From nothing. Today, if you're going digital, you don't need bricks and mortar. You need ideas. You need sweat. You need to bootstrap it. No one's going to give you permission to try to grow. Get out of bed and have the ideas, like-minded people, and make it happen. No one gives you business success. No one makes you a leader. It starts with you. This is the thing we've got to change. We've been given a colonial dependency culture. It's time to throw it away. When I saw that startup incubator in my birthplace of Gambia, it's already started. Don't wait. Start. Find 3 or 4 like-minded people. Decide what you're going to do and give it a go. The environment is changing. No one's going to give you permission. No one's going to give you resource. Demonstrate you're a leader by starting it yourself. It's painful, it's hard, but leadership is, and it should remain so. If you become a leader, you'll have the responsibility for people's livelihoods. It must remain difficult. Because the honor we get by being leaders, the prestige we get, that means let's give it to those who deserve it. That means start this journey on your own from next to nothing. That's the most valuable lesson you can have. I've got to talk about Mustafa Njai again. No one gave him a business. No one gave him the investment. He came from the most humble of origins. If you need a close proximity role model, there is one there for you. He had nothing but a dream. The effort, the energy, and the desire. The rest is history.
My question is,
We always say that we, the young people, we are the future leaders.
Yes.
But if we are the future leaders and our education level is low, how can we be the future generation leaders?
It's a good question. However, what makes you feel that it's only education that can enable you to be a leader?
Well,
I don't agree at all. I think education is important, but you, the person, are vital. I think that if I look at some of the greatest leaders in the world, let's look at those. Steve Jobs dropped out of high school. Bill Gates dropped out of high school. It's so important we give our children the opportunity of education. But that's not the be-all and everything. You can still contribute, you still matter, your voice matters. If we change the nation, we want to education for all. But please, do not feel stigmatized because you don't have the education. You still have something to offer. Let's change that. Every voice must be heard. Some of the wealthiest people in the world today started from the most humble origins with limited education. Do not give up on me.
Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I am so pleased to stand up today as well as yesterday.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to everyone in the building that's here. My name is Regina Lewis. I'm from USA. I went online and I did research on Brother René, and I'm so happy to be here in his presence.
Thank you so much.
I have a very important question for you,
please,
brother. According to your expertise and also your experience, what are 3 ways you suggest that our youth here in Gambia and other places in Africa connect with African American youth in ways where there are no boundaries for leadership?
So this is a fabulous and important and vital question. We are not alone anymore. Now this is so important. My generation is those who are physically close to us that we could engage with. There's a generation here that's gone digital years ago. Movements know no boundaries today. Black Lives Matter knew no boundaries. It doesn't recognize states, it doesn't recognize passports, it's there, it's alive. Today, our movement for the future, based on your great question, is about finding those like-minded visionaries. You no longer need to live in the same location. You no longer need to worship in the same cathedrals, mosques, temples, or synagogues. Like-minded people can mobilize like this. And some of the movements today go beyond national boundaries. This is the most exciting time to be young at the moment. And your question is superb. The diaspora, look, we've got 54 African nations. There is not a city I go to in Europe where there's not a black population. There is not a city in America which doesn't have a vibrant population. We have strong voices today. Remember our heritage that brings us together. This may well help us build a future that we've never thought about building. Our brothers and sisters go beyond national boundaries. We saw when ECOWAS came together, what it delivered for us. We have opportunities together that we haven't even started to scratch at. Gambia's future won't be delivered by Gambia alone. There are so many of us who come from different places, our children with different passports, but we still have the shared heritage. Why can't we come together? And this is why we need a different generation that goes beyond the physical boundaries. Let's get to the emotional joining up. And I think this is the closing piece for all of us. We are so much stronger together. There is a generation that knows how to hook us up, how to get like-minded people mobilized, how to get a huge voice, a huge movement, a huge happening. Let's not be patient. Let's not wait for permission. Let's start this movement today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's exciting, but we have to bring it to a close because we have to go to the next session. Okay.
Okay. We love impatience.
Mr.
My brother.
Go ahead.
How do you convince us, some of the skeptics? Because sometimes I feel like in Gambia, I live in Dakar now. In Gambia, we have inherited this culture from our colonial masters. All talk, no show.
Yes.
So, how do you convince us skeptics that this place actually has a future? Because some of us that live in Senegal and see how the work ethics are. We know for a fact that in our country we don't see those work ethics. We don't. So how do you convince some of us skeptics to come back to our country?
So I've got your question, but let me challenge you back. Because you know what? Challenge starts at home. You can sit there and be skeptical all you like. What will that achieve for us? All of us need to swallow this pill. It's a tough one. The easiest thing in the world is not to try. The easiest thing is to throw rocks. Our past evidence proves you to be correct. That doesn't make you right about our future. And the challenge I would have for you, leadership is not a spectator sport, it's a contact sport. I think that if you really care, which I know you do, if you really want this to change, which I know you do, then you need to climb on board and help. And I would go even further. There is no place for skeptics on this bus. We are Gambians united in our future. If that doesn't get you excited, if the fact that we can build a different future doesn't get you out of bed, if you don't believe you have something to contribute, then maybe you're right. Stay in Dakar.